Hello everyone, and welcome to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Forge is an area for me to talk about Magic, Commander, and anything else as I try and survive this crazy world and drag my mental stuff out of the gutter. Now, I was unable to attend the event in Philadelphia this weekend. I really wanted to go, but I sat down, looked at financials, and realized there was no way I was going to be able to swing it. But I do hope that everybody that went had an amazing time. I have been following along vicariously through Twitter. And yeah, so I do hope everyone had a good time. And I'm sad that I didn't get to go. Now, what I really want to talk about today is, colors. In particular, one color. I want to talk about black in Magic. You see, anybody that knows me or has known me in the Magic community realizes that I am a black mage at heart. This is further supported by the parody account I made on Twitter, which is, mono black border. But we're not here to talk about that. I love the color black, but I struggle to make mono black decks because I feel like they end up being too strong. And I have been trying to power down my stuff, not too much, but just more to an enjoyable level. And I find that hard to do with black because, I don't know, I start looking at black and it just all kind of falls together, no matter what theme I'm going for. And I've tried several different iterations in the past, and so far none of them have stuck. I am working on a new mono black list. It might fall into that same vein, but I am gonna talk about that in the next part of the podcast. So as far as my views on black as a color is, it's meant to be, avarice. What you have, I want. And I can do anything you can do. It's just going to take me either an increased amount of mana or an addition of life. And it's that self-sacrificing side of black that really calls to me, right? Not to say I don't have affiliations with other colors, but that's the one that I gravitate to the most. And yeah, so that's just kind of my little philosophy on black. And I hope that I can sit down and make an enjoyable mono black deck that doesn't just feel like a slog to play against. So here's hoping, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I'll be right back. I just want to take a minute to tell you about my Patreon. I know times are hard for everybody, and I know it isn't easy to shuffle around bills and stuff. Believe me, I know that. But if you would like to help support the podcast, you can find the links to my Patreon in my link tree, which is always put into the description of either the video or the audio, wherever you're listening to it. It would really mean the world to me. Honestly, I'm just struggling to make ends meet most weeks. But that's it. That's all. If you want to help, the links will be where you can find them. And welcome back. Now, I promised you a mono black deck that I'm working on, and it is built with some of the pieces from the last mono black deck that I tried building, which was Karavek the Spiteful, and it just kind of didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So what I ended up building was Ayara, First of Locthwain. She is 3 black mana for a 2/3 elf noble. Whenever she or another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. You can tap her, sacrifice another black creature to draw a card. Now, with her, we're also running Bantu's Monument, which is her, but not. So it's a 3 mana and artifact. Black creatures you control cost 1 less to cast, and whenever you cast a creature spell, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. With hers being an enters trigger and Bantu's Monument being a cast trigger, it means that Bantu's Monument doesn't trigger off of tokens or like things entering from the graveyard. But speaking of tokens, the number 1 token producer we have in here is going to be Bitter Blossom. It's 1 and a black for enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. Put a 1/1 black fairy rogue creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So with Ayara out, you pay the life to put it in. Then it enters, they lose a life, and you regain the life that you just paid into it. A lot of the usual suspects you're going to find in this deck, things are like aristocrat-y, with things like Zulaport Cutthroat, 1 and a black for a 1/1 human rogue ally. Whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1, you gain 1. Falkenrath Noble is 3 and a black for a 2/2 vampire with flying. Whenever Falkenrath Noble or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Vindictive Vampire is 3 and a black for a 2/3 vampire. Whenever another creature you control dies, Vindictive Vampire deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Then you get into a couple of the bigger ones. You have Massacre Worm, 3 black for a 6/5 worm. When it enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 till end of turn. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. Kokosho the Evening Star is 4 black for a 5/5 dragon spirit. It has flying, and when it dies, each opponent loses 5 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Bastion of Remembrance is 2 and a black for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, you make a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. The token itself doesn't trigger Ayara because it's white, but whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Then we get into some of the more utility stuff we're running, and that starts with the Transmogrant's Crown, which is a 2 mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, but whenever the equipped creature dies, draw a card it has equipped for 2 or a black. Skull Clamp is, Skull Clamp. 1 mana and equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/-1 whenever the equipped creature dies, draw 2 cards and it has equipped for 1. And then we kind of get into like the effects we have for things dying. So it starts with Pawn of Ulamog, 1 black for a 2/2 vampire shaman. Whenever it or another non-token creature you control dies, you make a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn. Midnight Reaper is 2 and a black for a 3/2 zombie knight. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, it deals 1 damage to you and you draw a card. Grim Haruspex is 2 and a black for a 3/2. It has morph for a black. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. Harvester of Souls is kind of like their big brother. It's 4 black for a 5/5 demon with Death Touch, but whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may draw a card. So that one triggers off of your opponent's stuff as well. And then kind of the last thing I really want to talk about, and kind of keep this relatively short episode, is the ways we're going to be returning creatures to the battlefield, because there is going to be a lot of looping of creatures. First up, we have Tenacious Underdog. It's 1 and a black for a 3/2 human warrior, but it has Blitz for 2 black and pay 2 life. More importantly, you can cast Tenacious Underdog from your graveyard using its Blitz ability. Strands of Night is 2 black for an enchantment. You can pay 2 black, pay 2 life, and sacrifice a swamp to return a creature card from your graveyard to play. Command the Dreadhorde is 4 black for a sorcery. Choose any number of target creatures and or planeswalker cards in graveyards. Command the Dreadhorde deals damage to you equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Put them onto the battlefield under your control. Now, obviously, I'm not going over everything exhaustively because I don't do that really. But I do have 2 cards that are essentially the finishers that everybody knows and everybody hates. They are Torment of Hailfire and Exsanguinate. Torment is X black black for a sorcery. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices an on-land permanent or discards a card. And Exsanguinate is X black black for a sorcery. Each opponent loses X life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. So, yeah. They're the normal mono black finishers. I tend to try and hold off casting those until the game has been going on for 10 turns, when the game really should end. And we'll see. We'll see exactly how this works. That being said, that's it. I'm done. It's a nice short episode this week because I have so much stuff to get done. So, with that said, I will see you next time. All of my I would like to thank Ian Boston for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Matthew Jacobs for making my original logo, and I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.